Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the Sarah Seams podcast. My name is Sarah. This channel is where I share all about my projects, my knitting projects, my spinning projects, any other fiber related craft. This is where I share about those things. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Whether it's your first time, there's quite a few new faces here recently and happy to have you, or if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be an absolutely mega-sized episode because I have a lot to share with you today. We're doing a giveaway. We're doing a couple special things for it being the 50th episode. And I also have not done a regular sit-down podcast episode since the end of November. So I have a lot to cover. I expect it to be a long one. I hope you're here for the whole journey. I will apologize. I have a lot of notes to look at today. So if you see me looking over, that is what I'm looking at. I don't want to forget anything. Yeah, it's Saturday. It's January 31st. We have a ton of snow here in Columbus. We got 15 inches of snow when Winter Storm Fern blew through last weekend, and it has not gone away because it's barely been above 0 degrees ever since then. So we are covered in snow. We've been kind of snowed in all week, barely left the house, and it's been a lot of cozy knitting time. So that's been going on. As I said, this is my 50th episode of the regular podcast, which is hard to believe. I've been doing this for over 3 years now, and I have to give a special shout out to my friend Jess, who I mention all the time. She is the one that inspired me to start this podcast, and it's become something that really brings me a lot of joy and has helped me build a lot of community with you all. So thank you, Jess, for inspiring me and encouraging me. And yeah, I'm just really excited to keep doing this and building community with all of you. So let me jump into my admin things, which is going to include the giveaway, the special 50th episode giveaway. Social media, you can find me on Instagram at Sarah_Seams, on Ravelry at Sarah Ribble. Those are linked below. And I also recently have a Patreon if you are interested in getting ad-free videos, additional vlogs every month. We're doing some fun community stuff there. There's a chat where we've been sharing our projects. Throughout the year, we'll have some exclusive knit-alongs. The higher tier, the BFFs, they get a quarterly giveaway. We're going to do a quarterly Zoom night. So if you're interested, there's all kinds of fun stuff over there. The link is in the description box below. There is a 7-day free trial, and the first bonus video is already live over there. So that is also available. I like to shout out the Friday Fiber Chat topics from the previous month. So once a month, I make these longer form videos, and then every other week of the month, I post little short form bite-sized videos about topical fiber stuff. And this month, they were about my first FO of the year, which I'm also going to share today, and some channel updates, which included like the Patreon, a new format. You'll see I have a new podcast background. I am switching to this more casual format, trying that out this year. My next one was a new year, new cast-ons. So I shared 3 new sweater whips with you all. And then my most recent one was new sock cast-ons. So those are also linked down below if you'd like to check any of those out. And without further ado, let's get to our giveaway. So 50th episode feels like quite the occasion, and I wanted to do a special little giveaway for you all. And today I am going to be giving away a copy of Joyful Colorwork Socks by Charlotte Stone. So I have a copy of this for myself. I love it. There's a lot of beautiful patterns in here. This is Charlotte's second book. Let's see, just a little taste of the patterns. Here's a little photo from the book. There's all kinds of fun colorwork socks in here. Really, really cute. Let's see, I'll just open to a random one. Oh, these are really cute. The full bloom socks. They've got like bobbly flowers. We've got, oh, I love these. Very topical coming up. Groove is in the heart. I'm planning to knit these at some point. What else? We've got watermelons. We've got fancy a cuppa, some tea socks. I might knit these for myself at some point. So yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff in here. I am giving away this copy of the book. It's open to anyone, regardless of country. Totally open to anyone who's interested. All you need to do to be entered to win is leave me a comment down below letting me know something you're excited to make this year, whether it's colorwork socks or not. anything you're excited to make this year, just leave me a comment. And if you happen to be watching this on Patreon, leave a comment under the video there and I'll make sure you get included in the giveaway. And I will be announcing the winner on my next regular podcast episode at the end of February. So you have about a month to enter, which is really exciting. I hope that this book can bring the joy of colorwork socks into one of your lives. So that is what we are giving away. I hope that you all will enter. I can't wait to hear about what you're excited to make this year. So a couple of other little things to touch on before we dive into the knitting, of which there is a lot. There is an absolute mountain of things here on the table in front of me. I just want to say that I won't be covering today any projects from December or Vlogmas. I did do a Vlogmas recap episode, so I can link that down below if you're interested in seeing what I worked on throughout the month of December, but you don't want to watch all of Vlogmas. Maybe just check out that last recap video. Excuse me. And I did also, a little bit of a vibe shift. I just wanted to take a moment to say that there has really been a lot of difficult, sad, upsetting things happening in America in the past couple of weeks. I mean, 4 years at this point, but it's been a really hard time here. I don't want to get too much into it today, but I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that it can feel a little bit silly sometimes to come on here and make videos about knitting in the midst of everything that's happening in the world. But I have always found in difficult times that turning to the things that bring me joy and peace, which for me is knitting and crafting, can make it a little bit easier. So I hope that you have found that to be the case as well if you've also been struggling, and I hope that today we can find a little bit of joy and peace together during this time. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that it does feel a little silly to be putting out content like this during these times, but we also need things to take our mind off of it. So I hope that this time today can provide that for you and that we can have some nice knitting time together. With that said, let's dive in to what we have today because there's so much fun stuff. So I will talk first about what I am wearing, which I finished actually at the end of December, right at the end of December. This was my last finished object of the year of 2025. This is my Lakes V-neck cardigan, the Lakes cardigan by Ozetta. I'll stand up so you can see it. And I am absolutely thrilled with how this came out. So as I said, this is by Ozetta. I made a size 5. It is a saddle shoulder, kind of drop shoulder, hybrid construction. It is obviously a V-neck. The button band and the neckline construction is really cool. So you obviously you start by knitting the saddles, then you knit the back panel, and then you pick up and knit the fronts. You then knit the body. It has quite a deep ribbed hem, and I did do sewn bind offs on all the edges. And then you pick up and do this portion of the neckline. So there's ribbing from here around, and that has a tubular bind off as well. And then you knit the button bands, which kind of look like double knit, but they are actually rib. I have 3 buttons on mine. The pattern calls for 4. I did shorten it a bit just because I prefer a crop. It's not super cropped. I mean, my waist is here, so I've still got enough to comfortably wear it more like a sweater, which I have been wearing this one buttoned up. I haven't been wearing it open like a cardigan. I've got these super fun buttons on here. I don't know what the brand of these is. I purchased them at Wild Hand in Philadelphia, but really cool kind of mosaic-y speckly buttons. And the yarn I used was Noro Medora, and I held that with Isager Alpaca 1, which is the recommended yarn combo. So this is my leftover Noro. You can see it's kind of a medium gray. The color is 3. So it's a little bit more of a cool medium gray. I feel like the sample I think was made with Sake, which is the first color, which is like a lighter, warmer gray. And then I held this with Isager Alpaca 1, which is undyed lace weight alpaca. And this is the same color they used to knit the sample, which is color E3S. So yeah, that was my yarn combo. I do think the alpaca is really nice held with the Mandara. It adds a bit of softness and it adds a bit of structure. So I had read some people had issues with this slipping off their shoulders. It had to add elastic. I have not had any issues with it. I have found the fit really nice. I think I did go down an extra needle size to knit the neckband, which I think is helping to kind of bring it in, but I have been absolutely loving it. I can't get over how gorgeous this yarn is. You know, from afar, it just looks gray, but when you get up close, you can see all those beautiful little color speckles. So this one for me is like an instant wardrobe staple classic. I have loved it. I've been wearing it a lot. It is fairly warm and heavy, but the really nice open V-neck, which to me is just like the perfect depth of V-neck. I love the shape and fit of this. Kind of helps to cool you a little bit. So I've been loving it. I've been wearing it a lot. And this was also the first piece in what I'm considering my honeymoon capsule wardrobe. So my partner Troy and I are getting married this coming October, and we are going to be going to Japan for several weeks for our honeymoon after that. And I started with this one, but I wanted to give myself plenty of time to knit a few things to take with me when we go on that trip, because it is going to be cooler when we go. So this was the first one. This, I wanted to use a Japanese yarn, so I got the Noro. I love this pattern. I could see myself wearing this a lot while we're there. And I'll show you the second one I'm working on in a little bit. So yeah, this is my Lakes cardigan. Love it. I could honestly see myself knitting another one in a different yarn combo. It's a really enjoyable project, so love it. All right. FOs, I have 11, but a lot of them are spinning. So we'll go through those pretty quickly at the end. But yeah, I did get quite a bit done. This month has been weird for me. The first couple weeks of the month, I didn't get much knitting done. I kind of didn't have a lot of energy the first week, and then I got the flu, and I was so down and out that first week of being sick. I barely knit. I barely touched anything, which that's how you know I'm really not feeling well. If I can't even knit, if I'm laying around all day and I can't even knit, I am ill. And that was the case. So I do apologize. The cough I am feeling a lot better. The cough is just lingering the tiniest bit. If you hear me coughing a tiny bit throughout the episode, that is why. But yeah, I really, like halfway through the month, I was like, I'm not gonna get anything done this month. But then the second week of the sickness, I got my knitting energy back. But then I really I didn't have a lot of energy for knitting specifically, but I got my crafting energy back. But I really was more focused on spinning and crochet, because those things to me take even less energy than knitting. I didn't have the mental capacity for knitting. I had a lot of brain fog coming out of the flu. So I did a lot of spinning and a lot of crochet, which allowed me to finish a really big project, like probably the biggest project I've ever shown you. So yeah, I have a lot of finished objects, and we'll get into it. So the first one, and I'm gonna make a big pile of stuff over here on the floor. The first one, my first FO of the year, is my hand-spun Jaunty shawl, and let me show it to you. So here it is. Oh, I love this thing so much. So this was kind of an Advent project in December. I did a little bit of spinning every day, and I spun up this yarn that I used here. So I used 3 braids from Oink Pigments. One was like a candy cane stripe. It was like white with red. It was really, really pretty and festive. The second one was kind of like purple and red and a little bit of white. And then the last one was a white base with a little bit of dark purple and red and little pops of green every now and then. And I think they all went pretty well together. So I finished that yarn. This was my Christmas Eve cast on, and I finished it fairly early in the new year. I think I knit it in like 10 days. Like, it's really quite addictive. Here is a little bit of a closer look at the yarn. You can see some of that little bit of green coming in right there, but it's pretty subtle. I was going for about a worsted weight, and that's just about what I got. So I have 3 skeins. It's a pretty sizable shawl, but it's so soft and lovely. I've been really excited to show it to you because I want to start wearing it more. It's so cozy. As I said, this is the Jaunty by Andrea Mallory. It is a half fisherman rib shawl. The size and gauge are customizable. It's really quite addictive. I will definitely be knitting more of these. I really enjoyed knitting it. You knit to a certain point by weight so that you know you'll have enough to continue. So I used up as much yarn as I could. I think I had like a couple grams left at the end. So I used almost all of this hand spun, and I'm just really, really pleased with how it turned out. I can't recommend this pattern enough. It's simple, it's easily memorizable, it's so customizable, and really, really enjoyable to knit. All right, next up are two projects, neither of which I have with me, so I'll have to put some photos in. The first one is the Ooey Gooey cowl. I finished this for my sister. She had seen this somewhere around Thanksgiving. She showed it to me and was like, hey, can you make me this? And she's very knit-worthy, but also picky. So whenever she asks for something specific, I'm always happy to make that for her. And I used some stash yarn for this. So the main color, the kind of pinky purple, was, oh, this is also by Andrea Mallory, I should say. Started the year with two of her patterns. The main color was Sonder Yarn Co. Sunday Morning DK in the color Rom-Com, which is the color, this is the yarn that I used for my Midland cardigan, if you remember that from last year. The spin cycle that I used, I had in stash. This is their dyed in the wool, like fingering sport weight base, and the color was Reckless Abandon, and it's this really fun, pretty like pink and orange variation. And then with the spin cycle, I also held a strand of Lang Cashmere Dreams, which is a lace weight cashmere. And the color is kind of a really light, icy, like lilac color. The color number is 1085.0009. So to me, it's like a light lavender color. And I just threw that in for a little bit of extra softness and to bump up the weight of the spin cycle a little bit to get to more of a DK. And I have to say, this was really fun to knit. I mean, it's just color work in the round. You're just knitting this tube. And then at the end, you do a twist and you graft the ends together using Kitchener stitch. And my sister really likes it. She told me she's been wearing it a lot, and I think it came out really cute. I would knit another one for myself. I thought it was really nice, and I enjoyed it. So I had, you might remember last year, before Rhinebeck, I had cast on the Ooey Gooey sweater and kind of ended up abandoning it. It wasn't the right yarn for the project, and I didn't love the welts on that sweater, but the Ooey Gooey colorwork pattern that's used also in the cowl is really fun to knit. You don't have to catch any floats. It's pretty memorizable, so I would also recommend this project. Super enjoyable. Excuse me. All right, next is a pressed flowers kerchief. Here is a photo. I knit this using some hand spun, which one of these colors was actually finished since the last podcast as well, the kind of brownie one. And this was knit along with one of the classes that I've been teaching at local yarn stores, so to speak. I taught a class for the pressed flowers kerchief, and this was the one that I knit during the class. So both of the colors that you see here are hand spun. The dark green, they are both the Kierweens Fiber Club that I was subscribed to last year. The dark green was the September color, and it was called September Issue, inspired by the iconic Vogue September issue. And this one was a 75% Falkland, 25% Finn blend. And I had been spinning all the club colors to like a sport weight, and this one, just due to the fiber content, came out closer to like a DK worsted weight. So I knew right off the bat that I wasn't going to use this with the rest of the colors that I've been kind of saving to make a sweater out of all of them. A, because the color doesn't really go as well, and because it came out to a thicker weight. So then I had kind of set this one aside, and then I spun up the October color, which is that brown with the really fun colorful flecks. This color was called Acorn Spice. It was 85% BFL and 15% recycled sari silk. It was also very beautiful, but because of all the silk bits in it, came out a bit heavier, more of a DK worsted weight. So I had kind of set these two aside together, thinking they would be pretty used together in a project. And then when I went to look for yarns to make my kerchief, it just was a match made in heaven. The pattern calls for about 50 grams of yarn of each color. So yeah, I think it turned out really, really cute. I made the mistake of not weighing these yarns before I started, and I had tried to make the kerchief a little bit larger. I had added 2 extra repeats from what the pattern calls for, just because this is the second one of these that I've made, and I do find that the pattern as written is a little bit too small for me to like actually wear it. So I added 2 extra repeats of the flower, and I started knitting the second half, and I got like this far from the end and I ran out of yarn. So I had to rip back all the way back to the first half. I took out 1 extra repeat of the flower and reknit it, and I ended up with just a little bit of each color left. So I basically knit the second half of this twice, but it's such a fun, quick project. I really didn't mind. And yeah, it ended up with 1 extra repeat on each side. So the size is still pretty wearable. But as you could guess, if you have been here for a while, these are not really my colors, ones that I tend to wear. So I did gift this to my cousin who saw me working at it at one of our craft nights a couple of weeks before I finished it. And she was like, oh my gosh, I love that. That's so pretty. I love those colors. And I was like, oh, do you want it? And she did. So this has been gifted to her and she loves it. So happy to pass that along. And I will be knitting more of these, as you'll see in just a minute. All right, next up I have one more knitted finished object, and it's a big one. You guys, I have 2 finished blankets to show you today. Can you even believe? I really got on a kick. I've had these 2 blanket whips for years. So let me show you the first one. It feels really good to finish these big projects. So the first one is a baby size version of the Zigzag Zen blanket by Ani UT Knits. I'll try and show you the whole thing, but I also have a photo I can put in here of me holding it. So this is a pattern by Anina UT, and it's really, really fun. It's all garter, and you kind of make these like modular blocks and like build it out like log cabin style, but you kind of start in the corner and it builds out this way. So you can just keep going to whatever size you want. I knew I wanted this as a baby blanket, and I had like the exact right amount of yarn to make it this size. So let me tell you about the yarns that I used for this. 2 years ago, I think 2023, I purchased my first Yarny Advent from Camellia Fiber Company, and I was so excited to get it. It was like a 12-day Advent, and I ended up unfortunately being pretty disappointed with it. That's not to say anything about Camellia Fiber Company. I've bought a lot of yarn from them and loved all of it, but I did not love this Advent. Unfortunately, the colors were just so soft and so similar. So you can see, hopefully here and in the photo, the shades of green and pink are the Advent colors, and you can see how soft and how like similar they all are. So this one here that has a little bit more color, and this one here at the beginning, actually were not part of the Advent. Those were other colors I had in my stash. So this one here was probably the brightest color in the whole Advent. But hopefully here you can see how soft and how similar all the colors were. So I had started a couple different projects with this Advent and just really didn't love any of them, and ultimately landed on making this blanket with the Advent. And I think that was a great use for this. I think the blanket has turned out really cute. And as a contrast, I held this nice rich warm brown, which was some Madeline Tosh DK that I got at like a swap or something. I got it secondhand. I have a lot of this. I have like 3 more skeins of this, but they don't all match. So I thought, again, that was a good use for this. And I think the colors are really pretty together. So yeah, sorry, it's kind of hard to show. Hopefully in the photo you saw the whole thing, but I used the Advent fingering weight yarn held double, and then I used that DK weight brown yarn. And I think I've got a really cute baby blanket, and I was able to use up that whole Advent, the whole thing. I didn't have any leftovers. I really just barely had enough to finish it, but I think it turned out really cute. I have already washed it, so I know that it's gonna wash and wear well, and I have an idea of who I'm gonna give this to when they have their first kid at some point. So I'll be hanging on to it for now, but the intention is to gift it as soon as I'm able. Sorry. So that felt really good to get that out of stash. That has been an ongoing project for 2 years at this point. The next one is a huge one, and this is what I was said is probably the biggest finished object I've ever had on here. This is my Scrappy Crochet Granny Square blanket, and this one's been on the go for at least 3 years. I know I've showed it on here a few times, but it's finally finished. So when I was really just starting to recover from sickness, you know, I did not have knitting energy, but I had the energy to work on this blanket, and I finished it. I used up all the scraps I had set aside. Here it is. I'm not even gonna unfold it. I just wanna show you all the fun colors that are in here, and then I will put a photo in of me holding up the whole thing. It's a pretty good size. It's like a solidly, like a big throw. Like I said, I kind of used up, I had a whole bag full of scraps. I used up every last bit of them. And then I was like, okay, is it big enough to like call it here? And at that point I felt like it was. So my intention originally was to have this as like a car blanket, but I like it so much. I think I'm gonna have to keep it in here and add it back here on my chair, or maybe this will be my winter blanket and the quilt will be my summer blanket. I haven't decided yet, but I really love how it turned out. I did go ahead and put this in the washing machine because it's been a whip for 3 years and it was really dirty, but there are a lot of non-superwash yarns in here. So I knew that that was a bit of a risk, and it definitely did get like fuzzy. There's even some like alpaca in here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. It probably doesn't come across as well on camera, but it did get fuzzy. So the texture of it changed, but it's still really nice. But I did just want to say that, yeah, you know, but I feel like a blanket needs to be able to be washed. So I kind of needed to see if it was gonna stand up to that or not. I put it on cold, gentle, you know, delicate cycle in the washing machine, and then I laid it flat to dry, and that seems to have done the trick. So I'm so proud of this one. It's been such a long-standing whip, and really all it was a continuous granny square. So I started in the middle with a single, you know, 4-sided granny square, and I just worked my way out, and every time I got to the end of the round, which was in the middle of one of the sides, I rotated the project to the other side. So every other row, like the right side and the wrong side, alternated, and what that does is help to maintain the square. So if you just go around and around and around all on the right side, you'll end up with kind of like a rotated square, like it'll get bent out of shape. But if you alternate each side, the direction of the stitches kind of balance out, and it helps to maintain a square. So that is really all I did. Because of that, you can see on one side, I think it's at the bottom of the photo, where I turned, you can kind of see that there's like a seam or like a line there. And you could alleviate that by changing colors every time you started a new row. But I was just carrying on with whatever color I was using. So I would like get to that point and then go up and go back. So you can kind of see where the color changes happen, but it does not bother me at all. I am really pleased with this. It's super heavy. It honestly kind of feels like a weighted blanket. Like it's extremely heavy. It felt so good to finish this project. And I immediately cast on another blanket because now I was like, I don't have any more blankets. So I'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, really, really felt great to get some of these big long-term projects off the hook, off the needles, and kind of start fresh. So those are all the knitting FOs. We're only 30 minutes in, it's fine. I have some spinning I want to share with you now. As I said, again, when I was sick, spinning was really scratching that itch for me. It was something I could do super mindlessly, didn't take a lot of energy, so I got a lot of spinning done. And the first skein I want to share with you is one of my favorites I've ever made, and it's pure chaos. So ever since I started my spinning adventure a couple of years ago, when I would have leftover singles at the end of a project, I would wind them onto like an empty toilet paper roll, just like whatever I had laying around. And at the end of last year, I had enough of that, of the leftovers on a couple different rolls, that I was like, I'm just gonna apply these into like a monster skein. That's what I've heard people call it. It's kind of like your leftover bits and bobs. And so I plied mine into a 2-ply yarn. I would say it's about a fingering weight, and I'm totally obsessed with this. How fun is that? Look at all of those colors. Oh, it just, every time I look at it, it makes me incredibly happy. Like, it's just so fun to look at. But I have no idea what to do with it. It's a total hodgepodge of all different fiber types. And while I think it looks incredibly beautiful in the skein, I feel like knitting it up is going to be wild. There's going to be really dramatic color changes. Like there's a big section of white and then a big section of dark and a big section of purple, and like, I don't know. So if you have any ideas on what to use this for, please let me know. I would guess that I probably have about 75 to 80 grams of fingering weight yarn. So probably like 300 some yards. That's my guess. I have not measured it, nothing. I'm just guessing. I really desperately want to cast this on, but I don't know what to use it for. So please let me know if you have any ideas. I do think it would be incredible as like a colorwork yoke or something like that, but it's really fine, definitely fingering weight. So let me know what you think. I'm obsessed with it. I already started saving my ends for another monster skein next year. But yeah, I need to find a really fun project that it can shine in. So let me know if you have ideas. All right, I also spun up the next 2 colors of the Kira Wiggins Fiber Club fiber, and these I have to say are some of my favorites of the whole club. She's totally knocked it out of the park. I just got the last color I'll be receiving in the mail. I'll show you in the acquisition section, and it's also gorgeous. So I can't wait to start a sweater project with these at some point in the next year. So the November color, which was my birthday month color, this one was called Saturn, and it is 45% Corriedale, 40% merino, and 15% nylon, and oh, it's so gorgeous. Really dark burgundy with these little bits of a brighter pink. It has stellina. It has some nice drape. This is one of my favorites. I just think it's gorgeous. I love this color. Can't wait to use this one. It felt like the perfect color for my birthday month. Love it. December was also very beautiful. So here was December's. This one was called Polar Drift, and it's one of her kitchen sink colors. So I think it just means she kind of throws in whatever she has. Beautiful icy blue, and this one was mostly Shetland, some alpaca, Polworth silk, yak viscose, and who knows what else. So it definitely has some little tweedy bits, has some sparkle, really gorgeous. So there's those 2. And then my last spinning project I worked on, Andrea Mowry last year, I think, hosted a kind of spin it to knit it where you took a single 4-ounce braid of fiber, you split it in half. Sorry, there's that cough. Split it in half. You spun half of it into a fractal, and then you spun the other half chain ply. So you got one self-striping and one kind of variegated. And then she knit them together in alternating stripes to make a pair of socks. And I really wanted to do it at the time, but I had some other spinning projects and I didn't have a braid of fiber to use for that. So since then, I did purchase a braid of fiber specifically to use for this project, and I have finished the spinning for this project, but I had never chain plied before. So I really wanted to practice that. So I did a little practice skein with some fiber I had in my stash. Here is my practice chain ply. This technique is really interesting. I definitely had to watch a few different tutorials. Basically, this is where you take one single and ply it into a 3-ply yarn. And it involves making a kind of crochet chain, like a loop, and you're pulling yarn through the loop over and over again, and then the loop kind of combines with the yarn you're pulling through to make like little sections of 3-ply yarn, and it kind of feels like magic. Like it feels like it shouldn't work, but it does. But it definitely took me a while to get the hang of it. I think it's something I need a lot more practice on, It's a much more active plying method. When you're just like plying 3 yarns together, it's pretty thoughtless, at least for me. You kind of just go really fast. With the chain ply, I had to slow way down. I had to be like a lot more methodical. But once I got a feel for it, it's really meditative and nice. I really enjoyed it. I want to do more. But yeah, this was my practice. I did find I had a harder time getting my plying tension even, and it tended to go a little tight and ropey. So I don't know that I'll use this little practice for anything, but I'm glad that I tried it. So let me show you my 2 yarns. My first half, which was my fractal, excuse me, fingering weight fractal, I have to say I think this is one of the nicest hand spun yarns I've ever made. And I kind of wish I had just done the whole thing this way, but here it is. So this is a 3-ply fingering weight yarn. The colors are super fun. This was a braid, oh shoot, I don't have the brand name on the label, but I picked this up when I was in Pittsburgh. It's 100% fine Polworth wool, and it was a local dyer, and I'm sorry I don't have the name. But yeah, just this gorgeous, bright, fun colors. So this is my 3-ply fractal. I just think it's some of the most consistent fine spinning I've done. And the Polworth is super soft and bouncy. It just turned out really nice. I am very excited to knit with this. I think the consistency is really, really good. So then I did my chain ply half, which I think also turned out good, but it's definitely not as consistent. It's not as fine of a fingering weight, it's definitely a little bit thicker. So here's my chain ply side. You can see the chain ply has a lot more texture. There's parts that are a little underspun and plied. There's parts that are a little overspun and plied. But on the whole, I think it looks pretty good. So you can see here you get definitely much more of a self-striping effect compared to the fractal. So I think knit up together, it will be subtle, but I think you'll still get the impact. So here they are together. And I do kind of want to try knitting the DRK everyday socks with these. That's what Andrea Mowry used hers for. That's kind of what the knit along was for. And I've never knit those, but I've heard really good things. So eager to cast these on, but as you'll see in a minute, I have about 3 other sock projects on the go already. So, okay, that's it. That's it for spinning and knitting FOs. I'm throwing all these yarns in my floor pile. And let's jump into some whips. I have so many things in front of me right now. Let me get situated here. Oh, there's a tower of boxes. Take a quick drink. Hope you're enjoying some tea or coffee or something cozy. All right, I have 9 whips. So again, I will try to go through them fairly quickly, especially the socks, since I did show these in my last Friday Fiber Chat episode. Let's jump in. So yes, I cast on 3 pairs of socks in January. I kind of cleared off my needles at the end of the year, and I am working my way through Summer Lee's book, The Sock Project, her first book. I do have her second book. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the acquisition section. But yeah, I've been working my way through this one for well over a year. And I'm kind of working in tandem now on the lace section and the cable section. So the first pair of socks I cast on this year were the Murmuration socks, which are these really pretty lace guys. Simple lace, but very pretty. Oh, excuse me. And the yarn I'm using is this. This was the first color from last year's Wandering Flock Sock Club. And this color is called Kielo, K-I-E-L-O. This is their Baby Paca base, 50% extra fine merino, 30% baby alpaca, 20% nylon. It is kind of between a fingering and a sport weight, but yeah, really pretty neutral color with little pops of like a brighter orangey neon. And I'm almost done with the first sock here. Here's what I've got. I think this yarn in this pattern is knitting up really beautifully. Probably got like 1 or 2 more repeats of the lace pattern on the foot before I can start the toe. Heel flap and gusset. Really pretty, simple. I have not had a lot of sock mojo so far this year. I've definitely had a slower start to the year for sock knitting. Last year, when I did my like recap, my like 2025 wrapped video, which I can link that below if you're interested, I was really surprised to count up and learn that I had knit 30 pairs of socks last year. And it felt like maybe a little too much. So I am trying to kind of, side note, I am this year I'm not trying to knit less. I'm still gonna knit a lot. I'm still gonna craft a lot, but I'm trying to slow down a little bit, if that makes sense. Like pick projects that are gonna take a little bit longer, just kind of take my time and enjoy the projects. Not that I don't enjoy my projects, but I'm trying to do more in the same amount of time and produce fewer things, if that makes sense. I'm trying to knit the same amount, but produce fewer things. So yeah, I think I won't be knitting 30 pairs of socks this year. I'm still gonna knit a lot of socks, but I've just been kind of slowing down and enjoying some more complicated knits and not being, like hyper producing vanilla socks. So that's kind of where my brain's at. All right. Next up are a pair of cable socks from the book. These are, oh my gosh, come on. These are the Harriet socks. So really cute, simple cables. So they have cables, 2 cables along the sides of the leg and then 1 on each side of the foot. Just a very simple 2x2 cable. And I'm also knitting these in a Wandering Flock Sock Club colorway. This one was called Cake. Really cute, white base with like all kinds of neon sprinkles. And here's what I have. These are gonna be really cute. I'm very excited for these. The speckle just looks incredible with this pattern. So you can see this is all I've got on the first one. Oh, sorry, that light color is getting blown out a bit. I just need to finish the gusset and then I'll be on to the foot. But again, pretty enjoyable, easily memorizable pattern. Really liking these so far. And then lastly, another Summerly project, shocking, no one. I am doing a very casual, informal knit along with a friend and neighbor of mine. We are knitting this chart from Summerly's Cuff Club Volume 2, which was the December chart, just this gorgeous celestial pattern. And I am using some gorgeous navy yarn. This is from Treehouse Knits. It is leftover extra from my Advent project, my wildflower pullover. If you happen to see me working on that, this is the same yarn. And then for the stars, I'm just using some undyed Knit Picks Stroll. So this is all I've done. I've finished the first cuff. I did talk about this in my last Friday Fiber chat about socks that I kind of goofed up, and I did not increase. Normally I increase to the next size up for the colorwork portion. I forgot to do that. So I am able to get it on my foot, but it's a real tight stretch. So these might end up going to my partner Troy instead of me. But yeah, really fun. If I end up making them for him, I will probably decrease now for the foot. He does prefer a tighter sock around the foot, but I think the ankle would fit him better. So I'm probably gonna just go ahead and do that. And it kind of feels right because he loves astrophotography and stars and planets and everything to do with all of that. So I think these would be really fun for him. And then maybe later I can knit another pair for myself. So that is that. It's been interesting, the first year of the Colorwork Cuff Club, I knit almost every design, but I knit at least one each month that whole year, and really enjoyed them. This year she's mixed it up a little bit. She's doing a combination of like textured stitches, like cables and lace and colorwork, and it's been not as good to me. I think I like that she mixed it up, but I definitely preferred when it was just like the fun colorwork charts every week. So I'm not committed to knitting them every month this year, but it's been fun to see. Like that one I loved. There's been a couple that really stood out, but on the whole, I think personally preferred when it was all colorwork, but we'll see where she goes with that in the future. So that's it for socks. All right, next up, I have my next project in my Japan honeymoon capsule wardrobe knitting collection, whatever that is. And it is another pressed flowers kerchief slash shawl. So let me show you where I'm at, and then I'll talk a little bit about this yarn, because this yarn has been many different things. So here's where I'm at. I have knit, I think 9 flowers, 4, 5, yeah, 9 motifs. So this project, I should say, is by Amy Christoffers. It is a free pattern from Hobby, I think Hobby's website. And you start at this tip and then you increase with the flowers right along the edge. It is mosaic knitting. And this is the 3rd one I'm knitting now. As I said, I'm teaching a class on it, and I just find it so fun to knit. It's easily memorizable. In this case, I have a lot of yarn, so it's going to end up being more of a shawl size, which is what I'm looking for. Something I can kind of wear on the plane on our 12-hour plus flight to Japan, and maybe use as a pillow or like a little bit of a blanket. That's my thought for this anyway. And the reason this is part of the capsule is because I wanted to knit something kind of like cherry blossom inspired. And to me, this is giving that effect. So the yarns that I'm using, I am holding each of these double. So the main color, the kind of dark purple, is Kelworn Woolen's Cricket. It is 100% merino wool, 415 yards for 100 grams. It is a single ply tweed. And the color of this one is Mulberry. And I have 3 skeins of this. I had originally bought this yarn combination to make a pressed flowers cardigan like years and years ago, probably over 3 years ago. I had cast that on, and at the time, it just didn't really stick. And also, I don't think at the time I really understood that a single ply yarn was probably not the best for that. It just wasn't quite the right marriage of yarn for that project. So then I cast this on, this combo, as my Ooey Gooey sweater last year. And again, I wasn't sure about the single ply as the body of that sweater, so frogged it. Since then, I cast this on as the actual pressed flower shawl pattern, which is a different design. And it wasn't the right gauge yarn combo again. So then I just decided, you know what? I love knitting the pressed flowers kerchief. I'm just going to use it for that because it's the right weight of yarn if I hold it double, and just make a really big one. So that is what I am doing. I have weighed the yarn when I started, so I won't have the same issue I had on my last version of this where I had to reknit. So right now I have only used like 40 grams of the main color, and I can use 145 grams in the first half. So I think I'll be able to get quite a sizable shawl out of this. The fabric is quite thick. It's definitely going to be warm and cozy. I think blocking will like soften it up a little bit, but I'm just loving it so far. I've been adding like 1 repeat a day, like 1 flower. I think the flowers really pop. You really get a lot of credit for them. Oh, I didn't even show you the other color I'm using. This is Spin Cycle dyed in the wool. I have 4 skeins, and the color is, I believe, Wallflower. Yes. So it doesn't have a ton of variation in it. It does, some parts are a little bit more purple, but it's mostly just like soft pinks. And I think I finally figured out the right project for this yarn. So this is going to be the second piece for my honeymoon in Japan capsule collection, and I am loving it so far. We'll see how big it gets. Hopefully I can get a pretty good size shawl out of it. All right. What's next? Okay, we have a couple sweaters to wrap up with. So the next one I've made a lot of progress on, and this is the sweater that I've been working on for Troy since last March. So I am knitting him The Wrong Side by Maxim Cyr, which is a pretty basic raglan, but it's meant to be knit inside out. So you see the purl side on the outside. Troy didn't like that when I showed him the swatch, which here's the swatch. Oh, excuse me. Here's the swatch. I said, oh, look, don't you like the wrong side? And he was like, no, he likes the right side. I think they both look cool. But the yarns I'm using here are a combination of Rowan Felted Tweed. The color name is like Wet Stone or something. It's kind of a greenish beigey gray. with flecks of like light blue and white and navy. And then I'm holding that with Barocco Lannis Light, which is the fingering weight version. I believe it's 100% Peruvian wool, and the color, this is just the navy. So that is what I am holding. And this has been pretty neglected for a while at this point, but I decided right around Christmas that I really wanted to try and finish this for his birthday on March 11th, because that will have been 1 year since I cast it on, and he deserves a new sweater. He's very knit-worthy. So I pulled it back out and I've been working on it a lot. So let me show you where I'm at. The collar has this really fun like striped detail. And then I went right into the marling. And again, I am modifying the pattern to have the stockinette side out, facing out, instead of the reverse stockinette side, which is pretty easy to do. You just don't turn it inside out at a certain point. And just this morning, I finished the body. Look how long this thing is. It's so long. Why do men have such long torsos? It's simply not right. The bottom's flipping up a bit, but yeah, I just finished the body this morning. It's easily 16 or 17 inches. It's very, very long. But I'm so pleased with this. He's tried it on. The fit is really, really good. The pattern is by Maxim Cyr, if I didn't already say that. And the marl, I think, looks incredible. I really haven't been paying any extra attention to it. I've just been letting it do its thing. Here's the back. In the pattern, the bottom hem has the same stripe detail as the neckline, but I decided, because it's also on the sleeve cuffs, I decided that was like maybe a little bit too much and he might not want to draw a lot of attention to like the bottom hem of his sweater. So I just knit it in the rib, in the marl. It is a 2x1 rib, which you really can't see at all because of the marl, but it's there. So yeah, I've been making a ton of progress on this. I honestly have, to get through the body, at a certain point, I put a marker in and I figured out, okay, I need to knit like 45 more rows to get to the point where I can start the ribbing. And I just knit an inch a day. I knit 6 rows every day, and eventually we got there, but man, was it a slog. Like I'm happy to knit for him. He wears his knits all the time, but like it's so much body when you're used to knitting cropped, or at least like mostly cropped things like I am. It really feels like a slog. This is on 4mm needles. I am knitting size 4 for him, which I think is like a 44-inch finished chest measurement. And this pattern is great. It gives 2 instructions, like measurement specs, one for like a traditional female figure and one for a more masculine figure. So that's really great. I'm using the more masculine fit for him. And now I just have to do the sleeves. So I'm confident that I can finish these sleeves by March 11th. And I would like to do that because I want him to have this, but I'm also eager to cast on a new sweater for him that I'm really excited to knit. This one, I really just wanted to use up this yarn. This was another case where the yarn had kind of been several different things, and this stone color is really not a good color for me, but it is for him. So this one was really more of a stash busting project, even though I do think he's really gonna like the finished object. But I'm gonna knit next the finest kind for him, and we've already got yarn for that he picked out. I'm really excited to cast that on. So if all goes to plan, I'll finish this before his birthday, and then on his birthday, I'll cast on the finest kind. All right, next is a project that I am knitting along with my cousin, who is a newer knitter. She just finished her first sweater. I'm so proud of her. But we cast on new projects together on New Year's Day. It was such a lovely day. We went over there, some friends came, we were all sitting around knitting, eating some really good food, chatting. It was just a really great way to spend New Year's Day. And if you're interested, I posted some behind the scenes photos of that over on the Patreon, and I think those are accessible to anyone. So check that out if you want to see some behind the scenes photos. But we cast on the Lakes V-neck by Ozetta. And I can put a photo of that in here. I am using Durham Nature's Gilliatt in the color Baleen Blue. This is one of my favorite yarns ever. I just love the bounce and the squish and the softness. This color especially is very beautiful. It's kind of like a dark navy. It's getting a little bit blown out. That's pretty true to color there. And it has some like specks of black in it. I think this is gonna be a really great basic sweater for me. I'm very excited. I haven't made a ton of progress on this yet, but on New Year's Day, I was able to finish both saddles. And since then I have joined the back panel. I knit the short rows, and now I'm just knitting down the back panel. So at this point, it's just stockinette flat, knitting down the back. So it's kind of easy to pick it up and put it down. I just haven't put too much work on it because some other projects have taken my attention. So I won't go too into that today, but when I have more progress, I'll definitely be sure to show you. I'm running out of room. All right, and the last sweater whip is a really fun one. So if you tuned in for Vlogmas, you will have seen that my friend Jess, who I mentioned at the beginning, and I exchanged scrappy advents, yarn advents. So we had kind of set some parameters on this. We were gonna send each other at least 20 colors, at least 600 grams of yarn. And our plan all along was to use those advents to knit scrappy D20 sweaters in January. So we have cast those on. This is the second time we've done this. We did this last year too. And I have made a lot of progress on mine, and it's very fun. So here is where I'm at. Well, let me first show you what I'm making. I am making with mine the Alchemist Slipover by Wool and Pine Designs. Here's a photo. It is DK weight, gorgeous deep V-neck, long sleeve. It has a contiguous shoulder construction, and it has a split hem. So it has a 2x2 rib split hem. And I am making a really fun, crazy, scrappy version. So here is mine. I need to add the neckline. I'm excited to go in and do that. It looks really big right now, but it has a pretty substantial neckline ribbing. You can see how fun and scrappy it is. So I know I've explained this a million times, but the way we do a D20 project is I'm actually using 24 colors. So I am using a random number generator on Google or whatever to pick my colors. But basically I use that to pick, like, let's say it's color 18, for example. Then I take a 20-sided die like you would use for tabletop gaming. Oh, actually, that's normally how I do it. I'm making some modifications this time. I am limiting the number of stripes I'm knitting with any given color to 8 for this project. So in this case, I'm taking an 8-sided die, rolling that, and then that will tell me how many rows I'm gonna knit with the color chosen by the random number generator. So let's say I picked color 18, I rolled the die and I picked 4 rows. So that would be one color. Now it's DK weight, so I'm holding 2 colors together to get a marl. So I would do the same thing with the next color. And then you can see that's how you get this really interesting marl, because the colors change at different rates. So here's the back, so you can kind of see the color a little bit better. All kinds of fun stuff in here, lots of purples and pinks and blues, but some greens as well. I particularly love this really bright coral. This shoulder construction, you can see the panel here from the contiguous construction that just kind of continues into the sleeve. So you start with increases here, and then you have raglan-esque increases to shape the sleeve. I think the colors are playing really fun together. And I am at the point now where I'm ready to split for the hem. So I'm gonna be starting the 2x2 ribbing sections. I'm splitting it just below my natural waist. It's a little bit higher than where the pattern recommends, but that's kind of just my personal preference. I think it's turning out super fun. These kind of projects can be like very addictive because you're like, oh, I just need to see what's the next color gonna be? What's the next row gonna be? I knit one of these last year. I can put a photo of it, my one from 2025 in. And I made a really big, cozy, oversized kind of house sweater. And it's one of my most worn sweaters. I do tend to wear it around the house more than out, but it's so comfortable. The finger and weight sock yarn held double has a really nice weight to it. And it's just fun and it makes me happy. So yeah, excited to be working on the second one. I'm eager to see Jess make some progress on hers too. Super fun project. Okay, I have one more knitting whip and then a spinning whip. I told you this was going to be a long episode. Okay, so after I finished my blankets, I was sad that I didn't have any more blankets, and I've been itching to cast on the Bits and Bobs blanket for ages. I believe this pattern is by Kay Jones, and I had some yarn in my stash that I knew I wanted to use for this. I bought this yarn as a very new knitter, and ever since then I've really struggled to find a use for it. So let me show you the yarn. It is very beautiful. It is alpaca. It's Galere alpaca. It is their Heather Prime alpaca. It's 100% superfine alpaca. And these are like mega skeins. So these are 660 yards. They're like double skeins. Each one is 8 ounces. So it's about a DK, light DK alpaca. And I have 3 of these. So I have over 1,800 yards of this. And you know, the more experience I gained as a knitter, I knew I probably wasn't going to want a 100% alpaca sweater, just knowing the type of garments that I've come to like. So at a certain point, I decided that this was going to get used for a blanket instead because I have so much of it. And I still want a way to use up all of my like sock weight scraps and fingering weight scraps that I'm generating. So I identified the Bits and Bobs as something I wanted to make, and I finally cast that on since I finished my other blankets, and I have been loving it. This project is addictive. So it doesn't look like I have much, but I've put a fair amount of time into it already. So here is what I have. I cast on extra stitches from what the pattern calls for. I think I cast on 20 extra stitches. So you can see it's pretty bunched up. It is going to be a decent size, I'm hoping. But look at that amazing squishy texture. So it is fisherman's rib, essentially. And it's very fun to knit. It's kind of scratching that same itch as the Jaunty shawl. So I didn't feel the immediate need to cast on another Jaunty shawl. But you can see how fun the stripes are going to be. And I am just using up sock leftovers of any size here, but to start with, I have some bigger ones. So I'm gonna get some more chunky stripes, which I think is kind of nice. Right now I've used 3 colors. So this was kind of a light green, a pinky purple, and then the one I'm using right now is like a black and white. So you can see it's just dark and then it has those occasional white speckles. It is reversible, so both sides are essentially the same. And to change my contrast color, or my like pop colors, I am using a Russian join, which was a new to me technique, but I was trying to avoid having ends to weave in because I want it to be fully reversible. And I came across this technique and it's awesome. If you've never used it, it's really good for stuff like this, or if you wanted to make like a magic ball with like a bunch of different scraps combined together. I've tried the magic knot before, which is what a lot of people recommend for projects like that. I did not find it to be secure. If you were gonna put some like glue or something on it, maybe it would hold better, but then you end up with visible knots in your project. The Russian join, you essentially like hook the yarns together and then weave the tail ends like back through the yarn. So when you knit it, you get like a slightly thicker bit of the yarn, but in a project like this, you really can't tell. And the joins are like totally seamless. It's very secure, and you don't end up with little knots or like bits sticking out. So far I've been really pleased with that. It makes it pretty easy and seamless. So yeah, I've been loving this. This is my new long-term blanket project. This is one that is gonna be tougher for washing because of the 100% alpaca yarn. I probably will not be able to wash this blanket in the machine. If anything, it would have to be hand washed. So I'm trying to be a little bit more careful with it as I work on it, knowing that it's not gonna get washed, likely often or ever. So I'll have to think too about where it's gonna live after it's done so that it can really be appreciated without getting dirty. So that's just something to consider. Really, it's probably best to use all superwash yarns in blankets if you are planning to wash them, but I'm really desperate to use up this yarn and it's making a really soft, squishy blanket, so I'm very excited for it, but just something to think about when you're making blankets if you need them to be machine washable. All right, and the last whip is a quick spinning update. So I really got into a good habit of spinning a little bit every day while I was sick and then while we've been snowed in. And the spin I'm working on now, after I finished all those little ones, is a bit bigger. So a while back, the Woolly Thistle, who I am an affiliate for, if you're ever interested in purchasing from them, I would really appreciate it if you would check out my link below. I get a little bit of a kickback from it, but it doesn't cost anything extra to you, so it's a great way to support the channel. They had a Newtoden update, and actually they've had another one since then, so I'm hoping they're going to keep it coming. Great way to purchase Newtoden if you've never been able to get it directly from the owner Air who produces it. You can now try and get it at the Woolly Thistle. But they had fiber and yarn, and I bought some of both, but I was really curious about the fiber. So I bought 2 like giant bats of Newtoden fiber. Each one is 200 grams and it's so airy. It feels like more fiber than that. But the color I got was called Ula, and I have finished spinning the first half of it. So let me show you one of the bobbins of my singles. I would say overall it reads like a dark purple, but as you can see up close, there's a lot of other colors in there. It's really complex, really, really beautiful. It's definitely a little bit nubbly. My singles, it's not taking a ton of twists. I would say my singles are probably around a sport weight on average. My plan is to do a 2-ply, hopefully getting like a DK to worsted weight yarn. It's going to be pretty woolly. It's going to be pretty fluffy. And then I'm hoping I'll have enough to make a garment. But if not, I might make like a shawl or a vest or something. But what I'd really love to make is like a lacy sweater. At like a bigger gauge. I don't know, I just got this vision for this in my head. I don't have a pattern in mind, but I think it could be really beautiful. And the 2-ply I'm hoping would help to like open up the lace. So something I'm noodling on, but I'm hoping I'll get enough. I think I'm gonna kind of just have to see how much yarn I end up with. I think I'll probably end up with about 6 skeins worth of whatever weight this ends up being. So I'll definitely have to try and calculate how much I end up with, but I have 2 finished bobbins and like a half of one. So I'm working on the second half of the spin now, really eager to ply it and figure out how much I have so I can pick a project for this. It's not the softest thing in the world, so I think it will probably need to be kind of an over piece, which is why I think something like lacy could be really pretty. So, oh, the color is so gorgeous. All right, we're over an hour in and I've just finished whips, so I promise I won't take up too much more of your time, but I do have a few other things to talk about. So one thing I frogged in a plan, something else I'm working on, is a secret test knit. So I unfortunately can't share this sweater with you right now, but I have been putting a lot of time into it, and that is a test knit, a sweater test knit for one of the patterns in Rebecca Clo's upcoming book. So I'm really excited to be testing for her book. So excited for that. I'm sure I'll be purchasing a copy. I really enjoy her patterns. The pattern I'm testing is called the Loch Alsh sweater. And what can I tell you about it? It is a raglan and it has some stripes of 1x1 color work. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm kind of already planning a second version, but I wanted to do the test with stash. So in order to do that, I had to frog like half of a sweater that I had knit, and that was the Poetry Pullover by Sari Nordland. I had started this years ago. The yarn is a really beautiful fingering weight non-superwash merino held with mohair from Camellia Fiber Co. The color is Midnight, and It's kind of similar to this alpaca that I just showed you. It's kind of like a light bluish gray. And then for the color work, I had some like white and Surrey in the stash that I'm using. So that, I frogged that long-standing hibernating whip to use the yarn for this, and I think it's gonna make a much more wearable project. So I'm glad that I made that choice, and I wish I could show you the sweater, but just know I'm working on that in the background, and I'm gonna have to hang on to it until the book is launched. So that's gonna be a while, but I'm really excited about it. And lastly, well, actually second to last, I have some acquisitions to show you. A few things. So I have a couple of fiber things to show you. I did, as I said, I got the last bat for the Kier Wiggins Fiber Club. I really enjoyed the club. I'm not going to be renewing just because I don't need that much fiber coming in right now, but I did really enjoy it. And the last one does not disappoint. It is this gorgeous, mostly natural white, but you can see there's some Selena, there's some pink. It's really, really pretty. This one is BFL Baby Alpaca Rose Fiber, which you can smell. It actually has like a floral smell to it, which is super interesting. Shetland Cashmere, Tussa Silk, and Stellina. And the color is called Cloud Dancer, which is hilarious because that was Pantone's color of the year for 2026, which is basically just white. I think this is prettier than that. It's subtle, but it does have other colors in it. So love this. Way to go out on a good high note. I think this will be beautiful with all the other colors. And like I said, I can't wait to knit those all up into a sweater next year. And aside from this, the knitted in fiber that I'm working on right now was the last fiber quantity in my stash that was unspun. So I've really worked through almost all of my fiber. Obviously I just got this bat, but this is a 50-gram bat. It doesn't take me very long to spin. So I started thinking, what's my next spin gonna be? And I follow Tori Yu on Instagram, who, if you don't follow her, definitely check her out. She's a great size inclusive designer. Her patterns are beautiful. And she got into spinning in the last year or two and does beautiful spinning projects. So I love following her. And she had done a sock spin using like a scrappy sock pack from Wound Up Fiber Arts. And they had just listed some more on their site. So I went and bought one too. And oh, it's so fun. Look at this. Look at all these different little nuggets in here. So this is their Scrappy Sock Bundle. It is their Super Sock Custom Blend. It's 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon. And it is 10 plus unique colorways, making every skein different. It says just grab one and start spinning. So there's all kinds of fun different colors in here. I can't wait to do a sock spin with these. I think this is gonna be super fun. So I'm like itching to start that, but I really wanna finish my knitted in spin first. Next up, I have some yarns from local yarn shop Dye Mad Yarns, which is a Columbus-based shop and dyer. They dye all of their own yarn, which is awesome. Their stuff is beautiful. If you're ever in Columbus and you want to get yarn that's dyed here and have like a really cool yarn store experience, definitely check them out. I went there with a friend shortly after New Year who had never been, so got a couple things. I also had a gift card from Christmas. So yeah, I picked up a sock skein for myself, and then a couple little sock things to make a pair for Troy. So the one I grabbed for myself was just this gorgeous neutral. This is their Chester sock base. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this color is pearl. And it really is. It's very subtle, but I hope that you can see, kind of like the Kier Wiggins fiber. I hope those colors come through. There's like pink and green, and oh, it's getting a little blown out, but hopefully you can see it. And I thought this would just be a really great, like semi-solid for some of my colorwork socks. It's really beautiful. And then for Troy, I've been wanting to make him the coffee break socks by Charlotte Stone forever. I'll put a photo of those in here. He loves coffee. He makes coffee every morning. He's kind of a coffee snob. So I really want to make these for him. I think they're super cute. And I got yarn for those. So first I saw this color, which is the same sock base, but this color is called Cookie Dough, and it caught my eye as maybe it would be a great background color for these socks. It kind of gives latte coffee. And then for the coffee motifs, I just grabbed a skein of their Deep Space color, which is, I think, meant to be black, but it has a bit of a warmth to it. So I wanted something with enough contrast that it would stand out against the little darker flecks in this. So that'll be like the coffee color. And then there's a little color pop in these socks. So I got turquoise. So those are going to be the coffee break socks for Troy. And then last but not least of acquisitions, I have, as I mentioned, Summer Lee's new book, The Sock Obsession. I pre-ordered this. I got it as soon as it came out, and it's gorgeous. She shares a lot of like more personal photos and stories in here. I think there's some really gorgeous patterns in here. I don't plan to knit every pattern in the book like I am with her first book, because some of these are a bit more specific, but there are some that I really love, and I thought I would just show you a few of my favorites while we're here today. So she kind of has the book broken out in sections, and let me see if I can tell you what they are by like theme. So she has like tips and tricks and materials and stuff at the beginning, and then the sections are traditional socks, modern art socks, everyday socks, whimsical socks, and summer's signature socks. So I went through and picked out my favorite pattern from each section to just share with you. And I'll just show you too, like this gorgeous photo of some of the patterns in here. I mean, as always, her color sense is incredible. So from the traditional section, my favorite were, sorry, that I think was the mohair fiber getting in there somewhere. My favorite in this section were the Latvian Rose socks, which are these really beautiful colorwork socks, just a little all over floral motif. And throughout the book, she has like personal photos and stories as well, which is awesome. Also from the traditional sock section. So maybe I didn't pick one from every section. I can't wait to knit these. The Fisherman Fade. So these are faded fisherman's rib socks. And I have a little fade set of sock yarns that I've been dying to cast on for a while that I'm going to make these with. That might be the first one I cast on from the book. From the modern art socks section, another fave, the color blocked socks. I think these are gorgeous. It would be a super fun stash buster. I might make these with the leftovers from my D20 sweater that I'm working on. I think that would be really fun. Let's see. From the whimsical section, it had to be the Sheep Festival socks. Are you kidding me? How cute are these little sheep? Adorable. Must knit. And lastly, last one I'm going to show today. Where are you? From Summer Signature Socks section are the two-way striped socks. So I just love the use of color here. They kind of give like the old TV static screen. Like, I just think they're really cool. The color work here, the stripes, they are classic Summer Lee design. So yeah, really love her new book. If you haven't got a copy, definitely check it out. Okay, last section, a little bit of chat. As I said, it's been kind of a crazy beginning to the year. Everything going on in the world, having the flu, it really kicked my butt this year. You've probably seen throughout my videos all month, it's struggling to recover. It was like one of the more challenging illnesses I've had in years. We had all this snow, we've been stuck here. It's just been a pretty wild month. I'm ready to move on to February. I keep seeing all these posts about like January's like 900 days long. It has felt like that. But things have been good too. Last night, Troy and I went to see Les Mis here in Columbus. It's traveling right now. I have probably seen Les Mis on Broadway, like this was probably like my 5th time, which is not, I mean, I do love it, but it's funny. I lived in New York for about 5 years, and every time someone would come to visit, we would take them to see Les Mis because you could get day of tickets for like $30 and sit in a box, and it always felt like fun and special. And it just is fantastic every time. The music is so good. And honestly, the cast we had last night, I think, was like one of the best I've seen. They were incredible. We had great seats. So we had super fun night last night. Those tickets had been a gift to Troy and I from my parents for Christmas. We went out to a nice fancy French dinner beforehand at a restaurant called Chouette, which was really good. I'd recommend it. So yeah, an accidental French theme. It was actually very funny. We got there and it's right by the theater, and they were doing a special Les Mis coursed menu. And I was like, oh, that's kind of hilarious. Like, it just worked out. But yeah, the food was great. The show was great. So that was really fun last night. That's most of the chat I had. I do have one final little thing for you. I had asked, is there anything special you all want to see for my 50th episode? And a couple people asked about our cats and wanting to know more about them and see them. So if you've been a viewer for a while, you will definitely have heard the cats yelling. You'll have heard them banging on the door. You'll have heard me talking about them. But you don't often get to see them on the podcast. If you watched Vlogmas, you will have seen, you're probably sick of seeing them. But so I thought I would just show you their photos and tell you their stories. And that's how we're going to wrap up today. So if you're not interested in that, thanks for watching. I'm glad to have had you here. But if you are, stick around for just a couple more minutes and I'll show you my babies. So I'll start with our oldest one, Alex. Here is a photo of him. He is a Russian blue. And he is going to be 10 years old in March. He is my baby. I adopted him when I lived in New York, the first year I moved there. I had always had cats and dogs, all kinds of pets growing up. And when I moved to New York, it was the first time I had ever not had a pet in my life. And I felt it so bad, that missing that like little creature, that little friend, the pet. So I, at the time, though, lived with a roommate who was allergic to cats. So I had to convince him that I could get a cat. And the only way he would agree was if I got a more hypoallergenic breed of cat. So Alex is a purebred boy. He is our fancy boy. He is a Russian blue. And we did get him from a breeder, which I normally would not do, but it was a special circumstance. Thankfully, the roommate did not have any issues with him. There were no allergy issues, so we were glad that we went that route. And he is my sweet baby angel. He is a total mama's boy. He loves to cuddle. He likes to be held like a baby and have belly rubs. He is very vocal and he is very intelligent. Like, he's one of those animals that feels more like a person, like you feel like he understands you and talks back to you. He is a very sweet boy. He unfortunately has some health issues. He's had allergies and some stomach stuff, and I do put a lot of that down to him being purebred. Honestly, I think that does lend itself to some more health complications. So overall, he's a pretty happy, healthy guy, but he does have his struggles. But he is my love of my life. He's my little guy. He's if you have a pet soulmate, that's what Alex is for me. And his name, when I lived in New York at the time, Hamilton, the musical, was all the rage. That was when it was first coming out. So his name is Alexander Hamilton. But his nicknames are Kitten, Buddy, he's just Kitten. Mostly he gets called Kitten, even though his name is Alex. All right, so the second cat that we got is Moo, and you can guess where the name comes from. He is going to be 6 this year, I believe. Is that right? Yes, he's 4 years younger than Alex. And Troy and I adopted him during COVID, so about 4 years ago, I think, at least 4 or 5 years ago. They told us he was around a year old when we got him from the Humane Society. We adopted him, but I think he was younger than that because he was pretty small when we first got him. And I had actually gone to the shelter to look at a different cat, and that cat was not super friendly, but I saw Moo there, and he was super friendly and affectionate and meowing and happy the whole time, so he came home with me. And he's a weird guy, We love him. He's a sweetie. He loves affection. He's an equal opportunity lover. He likes everybody. He likes pets from everybody, but he's a little weird, He's more of a cat who's he's an animal. He has his own personality, but there's not a lot going on upstairs. He's just happy. He likes to sleep. He likes to talk to us. He likes to cuddle with his siblings, but he's just a silly guy. He's just doing his own thing. He loves junk food. He really likes anything. We don't give him junk food, but if he can find a scrap of like a chip or a piece of popcorn, he loves that. And he loves to sit at the table with us and try and get our food while we're eating dinner. So he will we'll be sitting at the table and he'll just like pop up in one of the other chairs. And something I forgot to say about Alex is that he loves fruits and vegetables. Like, he goes nuts for like a piece of kale or an apple. Like, if Troy bites into an apple in the kitchen, Alex comes running and will yell until he gets to crunch a piece of the apple. It's very sweet. But yeah, he loves a salad. So then we have our youngest one, Elsie. Here's her photo. She's bigger than this now, but I don't have any really good photos of her since she was fully grown. She is going to be 2 in April, and we found her in our backyard here at our house 2 years ago, and she was only 5 weeks old when we found her. So we found her in the backyard. She was just a little tiny thing, and we tried to take her to a shelter and kind of, see if they would take her, because we already had 2 cats and we really weren't sure about getting a third, but all the shelters were full. So, and by that point we had already fallen in love with her, let's be honest. She was just a tiny little thing. I mean, she could fit in one hand. Her eyes were open, but we did kind of have to figure out, like, could she eat food? Could she go to the bathroom on her own? Like, that's how tiny she was. So thankfully she could. She ended up living in our bathroom for like a couple of months because she needed to be isolated and she was so tiny. We were scared to introduce her with the other cats. But that was a pretty stressful time, I'm not gonna lie. It's like when they call it like puppy depression, like when you get a little tiny animal and you're like scared they're gonna die or you don't know what to do with them and it's a lot of work. Like, that was kind of a stressful time. But once she was big enough to like get introduced to the house and be with the other animals, it was still stressful. She got into a lot of things. She's a cord chewer, which is like a unique type of bad, or at least she was when she was little. So that was still stressful, but I mean, she was so sweet and so tiny and cute. And she is a gray tabby, but her mom, who we had seen around, was a calico, and she has some calico coloring too. Like, her chest is kind of half and half, like half orange and half white, and her tummy also is like half orange and half white. So she has a little bit of a like chimera calico coloring, and she is really, really cute and beautiful. She domesticated pretty well. I mean, she was really young when we found her. She gets along well with the other cats. She's a little bit standoffish sometimes. She doesn't always love pets all the time, but we've kind of learned like when it's okay to snuggle her and when it's not. She's just a little bit more standoffish, but she is definitely a daddy's girl. Whereas Alex is my baby. Elsie loves her dad much more than she likes me, which makes me sad because I rescued her and I love her, but she definitely loves him the most. So that's okay. We each have our one that likes us best, and then Moo loves everybody. And her name is inspired by a local milk company. It is called Borden's, and my uncle growing up, he used to work for them. And they used to make these little milk truck toys where like all the little milk bottles were like individual. And I really have fond memories of playing with those as a kid. And their logo is this really cute like cartoon cow named Elsie. And I like have those memories. And then one day I was driving home from work shortly after we found her, and we hadn't given her a name yet. And I ended up behind a Borden's milk truck, and Elsie the cow was right on the back. And I was like, oh, Elsie, like that's such a cute name. So that is how she ended up with the name Elsie. So I think that's everything. Those are our fur babies. It's probably more than I've ever talked about my cats before, but I hope that if you stuck around for that, you are happy to have seen them and learn a little bit more about them. I would love to hear about your pets too. If you want to leave me a comment, I'm always happy to talk pets, furry friends. What would our lives be without them? Definitely less chaotic, but also less joy. So an hour and a half in. I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching. Can't believe it's been 50 episodes. Just thank you for being here. I say it, I just said it at the end of Vlogmas, at the end of last year, but I just really appreciate you all being here, building this community with me, and sharing our love for the fiber arts. So thank you. Looking forward to 50 more episodes, keeping it going, and yeah, I will see you on the next episode. Bye.